But all right, let's get going here, and we will start with what happened in New York City yesterday. This from the New York Post. Rifle touting New York City shooter critically injures 3, including cop, before turning gun on himself inside Blackstone and NFL headquarters. At least 1 police officer was shot at the scene and is in critical condition. Another civilian was shot and is also in critical condition, police said. Video of Fox says an NYPD officer was inside the lobby and the shooter walked in and shot him. And then you can see the image there of the shooter. Now, before we do anything else, so 1 police officer was killed. His name is Didral Islam. He was from the 47th Precinct. From everything I've read and heard from some of his colleagues, he was an absolutely stand-up guy and decent human being, and he did not deserve to die yesterday. Now let's unpack some of, and everything comes around to, there's always these issues, and then what do I always say? It's the narrative around the issues that in some sense matters more. Like there's the horrific murder of a police officer who did not deserve to die. Several other people shot, the general state of chaos in New York City when this happened and everything else. That's the important part. But in the internet world that we live in, the narrative part ends up being the more important part, because that's the part that's sticky, right? That's the part that then people start talking about and everything else. Now, of course, when these shootings happen, there's an immediate knee-jerk response where certain people, because they're so obsessed with the narrative, they start. You can feel it with people if you're on the Twitter. You can feel it with people, like they kind of are waiting and hoping that it'll fit their narrative perfectly. So whatever skin color you want the person to be, or whatever religion you want them to be, so that it helps benefit your narrative. In this case, here is CNN twice within about a 50-second clip claiming that the shooter is possibly white. Can you put up the image of the shooter first one more time, Connor, so that we can just, everyone get this in your head. Does that look like a white person with the gun? Okay, blah, blah, blah. We'll have more on him in a second. But here's CNN doing what CNN does, which is completely fabricating stories as they break.
The narrative. I've seen a lot today. And it prevented me. I don't know if it prevented me, but it didn't inspire me to really want to make a video. And I think it's because of the narrative. I think the narrative is really, really bugging the shit out of me, especially here, okay? Especially on this channel. Because on other channels and in my school community and even in person, as Michelle and I did today, we show people, we teach people, we coach people on how to do this. And we do it from a completely different angle, okay? And this angle doesn't align with the narrative. With that being said, we still have to inform and educate and almost warn people that the narrative will present itself when it wants to, and you have no control over that. There is a link down below in the description if anybody wants to join or at least request to be accepted into the community. It's entirely free, but it's only for people who are interested in learning more. And so the narrative, let's just say I've seen multiple instances of this happen today, one being with Joey Swole, and effectively quitting altogether because the narrative presented itself. And he wasn't ready for that. He wasn't expecting that. I don't think anybody was.
I owe my followers, my community, and all of social media an apology. A few days ago, I reposted an old video of me in the gym wearing a Hulk Hogan Halloween costume on the day that he passed. Last night in my live stream, a lot of people expressed how upset and frustrated they were with me that I had posted that. Instead of listening and understanding like I should have, I became defensive and said, that I was posting to celebrate the wrestling icon, the person that so many of us looked up to as kids that we grew up with, that made us tear our shirts and take our vitamins and say our prayers. I didn't know to the extent of all the horrible things that he had done. Since last night, I have done a lot of research, talked to a few people, and learned all of the horrible, horrible things that that man has done, which is way more than just making a mistake and being human. So because of that, I have taken the videos down, and I apologize to anybody that I offended. I am sorry. Also, during last night's live stream, I used the word colored instead of saying person of color, which is a very outdated, very offensive term. A few moments later, somebody educated me and told me that it wasn't okay to use that, which I immediately apologized to everyone and said I would never do that again. So once again, to anybody that I offended, I am sorry. You know, my whole page, my whole brand is based on holding people accountable and doing better. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't hold myself to the same standards. I am human, I am still growing, I am still learning, and I promise all of you, I will do better. I have nothing but love and kindness in my heart. I will continue to try to make the world a better place. And once again, to everybody, I apologize.
The other being Sydney Sweeney and these American Eagle jeans, and now Beyonce, which I got to tell you and Riley Gaines that all I see are two women who appear to be white, possibly white. Or perhaps maybe the best one was this rendition of President Trump wearing these jeans. But I'm waiting for the Dylan Mulvaney version because either way. What I've noticed across social media here recently is that you never quite know which narrative is going to take over. My narrative, if I have one, is honesty and the truth, value, trying to help people. Or at least I think I'm trying to help people, but I feel like some people have a different opinion of what help may actually look and feel like.
Ah! Oh my God! Ah!
Yep, that got me too. And I don't know why. Maybe because it's just so blatant. I keep thinking that people just are not gonna believe us until we're hung out there, but then even then I feel like they'll be like, oh no. Kind of like they are with
the Sydney Sweeney Aryan Eagle ad is not only xenophobic and racist, it's also scientifically inaccurate. She says genes often determine hair color and eye color. I'm sorry, often? That's literally what they do. If they're not determining hair color and eye color, what is? It's giving red pill podcast bro with no marketing experience clearly running their ad department. And I just hate when companies make content trying to use medical or scientific terms and then completely fuck it up. Like, it's not that hard to Google what genes do, how DNA works. Do genes often determine our traits, or do they always determine our traits?
Don't forget to boycott American Eagle and cancel this person.
So I just discovered who Sydney Sweeney was.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda. It's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes.
Hi, girl 3216 with the kitchen appliance up her nose. Blonde, blue-eyed white woman here, embracing my good genes. I can't help but notice something in common with all you ladies screeching
Nazi propaganda.
I cannot do this anymore!
over a pair of pants.
You have a good-looking section, and you have an ugly section.
There's not.
So we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
You see what I did there, right?
Sydney Sweeney has very keen. Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
You have to have the right genes.
I have a certain gene. I'm a gene believer.
Do we believe in the gene thing? I mean, I do.
I have great genes and all that stuff, which I'm a believer in.
Well, I think I was born with a drive for success.
Maybe it's just something you have. You know, you have the winning gene. Proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
It's probably the most racist period in the most racist branch of science there ever was. And
apparently she had the audacity to look beautiful in a pair of jeans and smile, and now the feminist bat signal is lighting up the sky like it's a code red at the Oppression Olympics. Ladies, listen, it's a denim ad. It's not the Handmaid's Tale reboot. You're acting like she personally set women's rights back a century by rocking some blue jeans, okay? You're out here screeching that a hot blonde in denim is a dog whistle for Hitler, really?
I'm so sick of it! I am sick of the bullshit! Get out of my face!
it's evident by the moment you start categorizing people and then ranking them. Well, you're going to rank yourself at the top, and that will deeply bias you for what you look for and what you cite as evidence to support your biased view. And you don't even think you have a biased view. But these biased views fed the entire eugenics movement. The eugenics movement was let's purify the human race by preventing the undesirables from mating, right? And forced sterilization, all of this. Yeah. A little known fact is the eugenics movement, which was big in the United States in the 1910s and 20s, fed the philosophies of Adolf Hitler as he rose up in the 30s. But we want to distance ourselves from him. Why wouldn't you? But if you actually part the curtains, there's the intersection of what race is superior and what race isn't. And that is foundational to Hitler's writings, and it was foundational to the eugenics movement.
A single one of you who doesn't look like a frumpy, dumpy Rosie O'Donnell cosplayer.
That a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this?
Yeah, that's rich, given that for years you guys have socially engineered us all into propping up the lowest common denominator as the pinnacle of beauty. You wiped every single attractive person off every billboard and replaced them all with genderless amoebas. And if we didn't play along with your game of pretend to the point of corporate bankruptcy, we were all bigots. That is beautiful. Whatever this is beautiful. Making your identity, your entire personality is so empowering. But not if you're a skinny little white girl.
Listen, they found a girl with a body that could launch 1,000 ships to show off their merchandise by using her merchandise. You scream empowerment until a woman actually embraces her femininity, and then suddenly it's a meltdown on aisle TikTok. I mean, you didn't get this mad over a Calvin Klein ad when you had women being replaced by men getting pregnant, whatever this is.
You don't get to drop lines about inherited traits, blue eyes, and great genes.
You know why Sydney Sweeney can sell her jeans? Because despite all their attempts to mind screw us on beauty, she still chooses to look like this. She still chooses to look hot, and the left is bitter. It doesn't matter that everything else is catered to them. They'll never be happy. We're not allowed to have a single ad that features traditional beauty without them calling us all literal Nazis.
That's Nazi propaganda.
Because they tried to dress up their jealousy as a fashion food fight for universal justice.
I'm sorry she didn't wear a pantsuit and a muumuu and scowl for the camera. Not every woman has to cosplay as a rage-fueled activist with blue hair and a nose ring. Some just want to look hot. And guess what? Last time I checked, this is America. So just adjust your moral superiority goggles. And remember, if Sydney Sweeney, in an American Eagle ad ruins your worldview, maybe your worldview is the problem. Oh!
A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman.
Just a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman.
And proud to be. Stay mad.
But I feel like some people have a different opinion of what help may actually look and feel like. which doesn't align with me. And therefore, I find myself in situations where my content's just not accepted. I don't go viral. I don't get views. There's a solution to that. We work around these problems, okay? But these are also things that I teach and I coach people about. And you can deliver a story seemingly to the audience you thought you knew, the subscriber base you felt you built, the page in which you thought everyone was on. And then the algorithm says, fuck you. Here's the narrative. Here's the new narrative that you weren't planning on. You weren't prepared for. You didn't see coming. It was a blindside narrative. What do? Well, there's a lot of potential possible answers to that question. This, in this particular instance, is rhetorical. But yeah, that's where we are, folks. It's a constant battle. It's a struggle. It's a merry-go-round or a revolving door. It's a game of musical chairs, and you just don't know when the music's going to stop. And if you'll have a seat when it does. There's usually an agenda. There's usually a motive behind this. But now it's definitely becoming a little bit more complicated and convoluted as to what that is or could be.
Scene. Showing you here, John's reporting that they do know what he looks like. Male, possibly white, mustache, sunglasses in that building, isolated to, they believe, to various locations, including upper floors is where they're focused. What are you learning, Shimon? All right. So, Brian, stay with us. The former deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, is with us as well. And Andy, I just want to ask you talk about a 44-story building, as Brian is reporting. And what John Miller just said, there were a few things that really stood out there. Among them that they do know what he looks like, sunglasses, mustache, male, possibly white, and that they were all
possibly white, and they said it twice. Now, if they were not sure, where are they getting this information? And if they're not sure, why say possibly white? They say possibly white because they desperately, regardless of this person's motives, which we'll have more on in just a second, and why he perhaps did it or what his psychological condition was or anything else, they would prefer that the shooter be white, right? They don't want it to be a black shooter. We all understand all of this. It's why on any given day, when we can get the numbers, somebody give me the numbers, how many people were shot in Chicago this past weekend. When it's black people, particularly shooting black people, they really want to bury it. But even if it's black people shooting white people, they want to bury it, right? They want white people to be the bad guys and black people to be the good guys. It really is as simple as that. 16 were shot in Chicago over the weekend, 3 dead. Note you did not see that on CNN or virtually any mainstream media. Again, it does not fit the narrative. So it seems to me that in a case like this, where we're now in the internet age, where CNN is running as fast as it can to report the same way everyone online is running. Whoever told, what's her name, Erin Burnett, possibly white, whoever wrote that in her prompter to say it, possibly, find that person and fire them. They were not possibly white. They were black, and everyone was reporting that online already. So unless you are intentionally trying to confuse people, unless you are trying to push a narrative, fire somebody. Of course, nobody will be fired.
This game isn't going to stop anytime soon. And in fact, it's probably only going to get worse as we move along here. The players may change, but the game itself will not. The rules meant to be broken, if any. Referees will look the other way. Officials will make bad calls. Umpires will eject you out of the game, even if you are doing the right thing. And there's really nothing you can do about it. Will she lose her job? I don't know. Maybe. Should she? Probably. But they'll just replace her with somebody else, somebody worse.